Ah well, mon nom s'appelle
Hello
SK,
YouTubers,
original.
it's Melissa, the M of the Emanation of Bespoke Hairstyles. I hope you are good and I hope you are well. Thank you very much for watching this posting. This posting is about a client of ours who recently went to get her hair retightened by another consultant. Unfortunately, due to personal reasons, we couldn't do her hair and we discovered that her locks were joined. And I just want to do a quick follow up on this story, which is Millie's locks. And just in case you hadn't seen the posting I did, the broadcast I did on Periscope, we're live on Periscope, which you can download through Twitter. If you hadn't seen that post, then hopefully you see this post. You're able to share it and help someone or educate yourself. As I always say, if I can reach one person in my post and help save their hair situation, then our job is done. I was on Periscope, I think it was last week, fuming, mate, fuming, because one of our clients, Millie's Locks, lives in Switzerland. Thankfully, she was able to fly to us to get her hair cared for recently, and we found that because she'd been going to a consultant, because we couldn't fit her into our schedule, because unfortunately due to personal reasons she wasn't as available as she should have been. Her locks are 2 years, done perfectly on point. When we used to retighten her, we used to say there was no error, because Millie's strands are the type of strands that literally quadrupled in size. Her locks is quadrupled in size since her hair was locked. So I used to look at her hair and I think there is absolutely no way her hair could ever be joined, which I was wrong about. So the background is she could not get to us. We could not fit her in. So she had to go to another consultant. She did everything correct. She went to sisterlocks.com. So on paper, she did everything right. She went to sisterlocks.com, found the consultant. The consultant had a great conversation with her. She saw the consultant. The consultant said, "Your hair is beautifully done, perfectly done." Gave her the compliments, retightened her twice. And because Millie is the sort of client who she's just like, everybody's lovely, everything's bright, everything's wonderful, and she trusts. When we retighten her, she doesn't check her hair. She just goes about her business, and her hair's still looking fabulous. And people say, "Your hair's nice," and she says, "Thank you." So she goes to this consultant, and her hair is joined. First retight, even though she was complimented on it, it was joined. Second retight, it continued to be joined. And unfortunately, for it's a really difficult time in the market now, because basically people can talk the talk, man. To cover themselves, they can talk the talk when it comes to sister locks and the technicality and the justification of why they're quickening the time, or I don't know. I do not know the reason why people wouldn't want to do the best they can on everybody's hair. But in this instance, she was told that there were a few thinning locks, so they would need to be joined. And she was like, yeah, okay, because she could feel her growth, because she hadn't been to her retights for long, so she could feel her growth. And I think it was 2 months, and she's normally a 6-weeker. So she was like, yep, go ahead. So when she sent images of her hair, she said, my hair's thinning, so she's only joined a few. And I was like, okay, great. But unfortunately, when she came, sat down, she'd already been to the consultant, I think about 6 or 8 weeks ago. When she sat down, to our mortification and horror, her locks were joined, and joined haphazardly all over her head. Now, point one, she explained where she's come from, which is Bespoke Hairstyles. Bespoke Hairstyles started my look, she tells her, and she gives her a compliment that her hair's been done great. And you guys, you follow us, so you know the sizing we do. We do it smaller than the typical standard sister locks retight. Gave her the compliment. And her hair was not that fine. And if you Google search Millie's locks, I don't know whether you'd find it on YouTube, but she was given reasonable amounts, great length, to create maximum fullness and density for her hair with the knowledge we had at the time. So I always say to people, if you look at the locks we do, the most recent is always the best, because the best is because what we've learned, we apply. And that's what was in her case. We did the best we could do with the knowledge we had, and her hair was on point. And we look back, we're like, wow, we did right by your hair. Okay, so we realize as we're retightening, all the edges are joined, but I couldn't understand why the edges were joined, because this is a certified Sisterlocks consultant listed on sisterlocks.com. And one of the trainings of Sisterlocks is the edges must be done smaller. And then obviously you kind of increase the size as you go in, but around the edges should be done smaller. So I never understood why her hair was joined, because the borders, well, they were perfect. There was no need. She just needed to kind of retighten it to the base. She also told her that she had thinning locks, but throughout her hair, honestly, I could not see any evidence of hair loss or thinning locks. I could see growth. So all that needed to do is that retighten to the base, but I just could not see the justification. Now, what concerned me was this consultant says she knows of us, but I also know this consultant doesn't just know of us. She knows our work. She knows us. So knowing what she knows, I don't understand why you would go into a bespoke client's hair, and our hair typically is done a bit smaller in comparison to the Sisterlocks, and then join up her hair. And not only join up her hair, but not join it on the line, just join it haphazardly. And it really did feel like a sabotage. That's why when I came online, I was fuming and I was mad at the fact that that had been done to one of our clients' head, knowing that she was going to come back to us. The question is, because basically it was joined so much to reduce the density of her hair. It would reduce the density of her hair. All the front was joined, only a few weren't joined, the edges were joined, and the middle parts not that much. So there was a lot of corrective work that had to be done. Basically, she lost quite a lot of hair because we had to kind of separate, and in separating, like quite a lot of her hair was gone, but she was like, I'd rather lose that and gain the fullness that I originally want, because she said, I love my hair and I never ever gave her permission to join so much. So that consultant will be contacted by the client, who is trying to decide how she's going to use this experience to educate and warn people. And so I came to share the experience because I needed you guys to know that there is an instinct you have with your hair. There is a belief you have with your hair. If you believe your hair does not need to be joined, then it does not need to be joined. Now, if they're telling you your hair is going to thin and break off, which a lot of our clients are told that, then wait for it to thin up and break up, and then they can go, right, okay, see, I told you. But don't make the assumption that it's okay to join the hair because somebody has told you it would become thin, because you're getting a lot of Sisterlocks consultants saying that it will be thin. Now you have to remember, people who are into traditional locks have said traditionally to Sisterlocks people whose hair have been done, I would say not as small as ours, oh, it's going to break off. It shouldn't be done that small. These Sisterlocks consultants are using the same terminology now for the work we do and saying it's going to break off, but it's not. And if it is, let it break off. And then we can make it a bit thicker, a bit bigger. It's fine. And it felt like a personal attack. It's like, you've created your work. We've created your work on Millie's head. And it was like a personal attack when you go on without the person's permission and you go and join their locks. So bespoke clients need to be warned. Like, if you can't reach us and somebody else has to do your hair, you need to check. You need to check that your hair is separated properly and is not joined. And if it is, they need to know that they've joined your hair. They were not supposed to join your hair. And so this is why I'm doing this post, to pre-warn people. Check. Even though you might trust that the person has answered the right questions, has said everything that sounds right. And Millie tells us she talked the talk. I was listening to her talk, and I say talking is great, but check out their actions. One of the things she said is, after telling her hair was beautiful, she told her, well, your locks are done too small for your strands, and long term it's going to break off. That was a warning that she was going to try and join her hair, or she didn't approve of the sizing. If you don't approve of the sizing of somebody's head, you can't retighten their hair, because more than likely you're going to try and join their hair. And that's my argument. I might be wrong, but she wasn't keen on the sizing. So she should not have, she should have checked, and if she had checked, it would have been easier to deal with it being joined then rather than a couple of months later it being rejoined. And what was devastating is there were some places where 3 loxes were joined together. 3 of our loxes were joined together. And the thing is, that's personal because that's our art. Yes, it's our client's hair, but it's our work. And we stand by every single one of our clients' head and our work with pride. And we can explain to you the intention. The intention always is to give maximum fullness, body, and movement to that client's hair. If what you're going to do is not going to give them that, then say you're not going to be able to do it. But don't sabotage, because that's what you do. It's either, as a consultant, you're ignorant and you don't actually have knowledge of what hair loss is or not, or you know what you're doing and you're just trying to sabotage somebody's hair because you know they've come from bespoke hairstyles. Um, and it's wrong. It's wrong to do that to somebody's hair. It's wrong to do that with somebody's hair. So the message is to all of you who are researching consultants and looking for a new consultant, going to new consultants, make sure after you've done your research and they're saying the right things, you check their action. And on checking their action, you would find out whether your locks have been retightened in the sizing you want or whether it has been sabotaged. So that's what this post is, to share that story with you. I think that's all it is. Oh, I wanted to say, we're on Periscope now, and I'm trying to be on Periscope every day in the evening around 9 to have conversations and debates and share information about what we learned, because we're not necessarily the expert in African hair or the sister locks or small locks. But what knowledge we have, we like to share. So we would love it if you joined up the Periscope through Twitter, downloaded it, and you followed us and you were interactive, because we're one community, stronger together. So thank you so much for watching this posting. And what I'm going to do is I wanted to tell you this story, and then I'm going to post to you what I recorded on my phone. So everything I've described, I'm going to post to you to see how her hair was joined and how we tried to sort it out. So we did our best to try and sort it out. It just means that right now she hasn't got maximum density as she used to. But it's also a lesson for her to be careful whose chair she sits on and what the intention is of the consultant who goes over her head. Yeah, so it's unfortunate. It's a sad lesson for her, but it's a good opportunity to warn you guys about what goes on out there. And maybe it's in reference to it being London, because London is a very, very different market from, other Caribbean islands, for example, when I hear other people's experiences. But you have to work out what people's intentions. Are they trying to get maximum clients? Are they going to try and get maximum funds? Are they trying to shorten their time? Or are they passionate about creating that fullness, giving you the best you can give? People have to understand the reason why we do that sizing is as close to your curl pattern, as close to your hair, so you can enjoy your flowy locks for as long as possible while giving you maximum density. What is their reason for doing what they do? What is their reason for giving the size that they give? It's very important when you're researching to research intention. The intention, because with the intention comes the identification of their passion, and then you can make a decision and then watch and be cynical and watch their actions. And then once you know they're fine, okay, they're fine. But it is better for a consultant to take longer on your hair or tell you they can't do your hair than to go and join your locks, because that locks is permanent. That damage is a long-term damage. Thankfully, we were able to try and mend it, but long-term, for the next 2 years, she hasn't got maximum fullness anymore. Some of her hair was that short because we had to try and recover it. So it's not worth it. So make sure you do your research before you let somebody permanently change your hair, where you have to wait for another couple of years for the density to come back. So that's the posting. Link with us on Periscope. Thanks for watching this posting, and you stay blessed. Bye.